Love it.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Legal Limelight. Today, we almost had two guests, but it's just Cassie today. We have Cassie Carey, who is the incredible business owner, entrepreneur, mompreneur, who runs her company with her husband, who I've met in when we were in Florida at Tony Robbins. They run the Carey Collective, a real estate agency and also relocation services, and I'm gonna have her talk all about it. But before we do, I need to literally 20 seconds before we went live, Cassie had her baby on her lap, her 9-month-old London, which just like goes to show we literally would have done it live with if the baby had to be on your lap, because this is life. Like
Yes, this is what it's like to be a mom business owner, and we're lucky that she's not
yeah.
here right now, but obviously we love her regardless.
No, we are lucky. I love that you said that because it's such a stressful thing
Yes.
to be a mom and to run a business, or to be a working mom, or even just to be a 24/7 mom, if that's your career. It is so what's the word? It's a lot of work. It's a lot
A
of work.
lot of Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of things, right?
Tell us how many kids you have.
Okay, so I have 5 kids. They are very full range. So we've got 25, 13, 11, 4, and almost 10 months. So we are in every season of parenting, and it's constantly chaos. So it's
It's,
amazing.
no, it is so amazing. Like, beyond the ability to run, because a house is work too, which not a lot
Yes.
of people talk about, but it is totally work. And if you can't do all the jobs, you have to run it like a business and delegate the jobs. So how has being a mom of 5 kids and running your businesses, plural, how have you been able to balance that?
Honestly, there's no such thing as balance. I think is the best thing to realize is sometimes you kind of just got to sway with the way wherever needs you the most, be there. And then like that shifts throughout the day, even. It's like sometimes when I wake up, it's my kids that need me and I have time like set aside for them. And then it's like then it shifts into business mode, and then my clients need me, and sometimes my spouse needs me, and then my kids need me again. So it absolutely shifts. And I think this idea of balance is not realistic for many of us. And to say, oh, balance, I think is not, it's silly because it just doesn't exist. And get by a lot of support, and I asked for a lot of help. We have an au pair. My husband is super active in the business and in the family, and so we have hired really great people at home and in business because we need support in both. You can't do it alone.
And I'm so grateful because, like, well, but before, can you hear me okay? Because it looks like my microphone's off, which is unfortunate. So let me just plug this
I can
in.
hear you just fine, but
Let's see. Let me make sure it's on. It's the glory of doing things live. Okay, that will be better. So I love that. Thank you for sharing, because it is like this unspoken area of life and business that intersects with life and business, where once I became a mom and I was committed to working and having a career, I didn't understand how I was going to be able to balance both. And then as I started talking to more and more women who did it, they said exactly like you said, I have an au pair or I have a nanny. And I like having these conversations because they're real. And I don't think we're having them enough, because we see the successful Cassie, we see her running her business, but not always do we see the team that's behind, and the systems, the processes that
yeah.
built. So can you tell us a little bit about how you were kind of able to take that leap? Because it is totally a leap. It's a mental one, it's a financial one, it is a physical one, emotional, to decide to say, for my business, I'm going to scale and hire, and for my home, I'm going to scale and hire.
Yeah, I think that's something. I love this conversation too. I was having it with a girlfriend the other day, and it's like they expect us to work like we don't have kids and expect us to mom like we don't work. And so I
Yeah.
just think a lot of times, I think women, we put a lot of really high expectations on ourselves, which are good, and they're also what hold us back too. And so I think it's just taking it where you are is the most important piece. And when I started real estate, Tom and I and the family had just moved back from Thailand. We had a 6-month-old baby, and we went through this real estate process of buying a second home. And I was honestly like, I can do this better. I know I can do this better. And so the reason I'm telling you that beginning story is because I didn't have help in the beginning. Like, I did what I could in the nooks and crannies of life. When the baby would nap, that was Oscar, that was the baby at the time. When he napped, that's when I worked. And I worked really freaking efficiently. I was like, what do I need to get done in this time? I got up early. I did work before he woke up. I worked during nap time, and I worked when the kids went to bed. Like, those were the only times that I had help and support when I started. And then when we grew the business and I was like, oh, I'm actually really good at this, I think I should pour more hours into the business. That was when Tom and I started to discuss having an au pair.
Yes.
And so the reason we wanted an au pair, which is someone who, it's an exchange, right? So they come, they live in your home, and we needed that flexibility because being a real estate agent, like, my schedule is never the same. Sometimes clients need me on the weekends. Sometimes I try to keep pretty good boundaries. I try to be at all of my kids' games. I try, to be home. I can't be home when they always get home from school because I get one that's off at noon, one that's off at 2:30, and one that's home at 4:30. So, like, it's just like unrealistic of an expectation to put on myself. So I try to be there the most that I can. And when I'm not, or when something comes up that is for business, that is urgent, we do have the au pair here, which is great to have those flexible hours. And so it took us time. I mean, I did my whole first year in real estate without an au pair, without help in the business. And then once I hit that first year and I had the au pair, I was like, okay, now I think I can afford to pay someone to help me in the business. So I hired my girlfriend, actually, who then, she wore all the hats. So whatever I sent her, she figured out. We did together, we grew together. And she's a mom also. So I was like, whatever, work when you can work, just make sure it gets done. And we kind of had that understanding
Yes.
as well. And I had her through the second year of business. And then when I realized, okay, we're going to grow even more, then I hired a third person who is my operations manager, and now actually just got her license. And so we're going to grow again in year 4. So, like, I can't be more excited for that. We've gotten a second au pair now because the first one's 2 years were up. So it's been slow. I did not do it all at once. Frankly, I wore a lot of the hats of the business, and
Yes.
I did marketing. I didn't have systems, frankly. Like, I did whatever I thought was best for the clients, but it wasn't until in year 3, at the end of year 3, that I found the right person and I was ready to financially invest to have her help me with my systems. And now it's like, okay, now going into year 4, we've invested in a whole other program called Lifetime Home Support that's going to be insane for our clients and supporting them from the moment we meet them through the lifetime of their home ownership. And again, we could not have invested in that in year 1. We didn't have the financial resources. We didn't have the systems in place to make sure that everyone knows that we do it. Like, it is a progression. And I assume that as we grow even more, it's going to be probably, honestly, more support at home. I would love to have
Yeah.
a full-time cleaner. I would love somebody else doing the laundry. Like, Tom manages all the laundry, and thank goodness he does, because I can't do it. My brain capacity is totally full. So I think it's important, just again, as moms and starting businesses, that like, it doesn't have to be everything all at once. You do have to wear a lot of hats until you're ready and financially able, and then hire very slow, and fire fast.
Literally, you just gave a master class in how to scale, because again, like in this Instagram world we're in, it's either you see the end result,
Yeah.
and not on how to build out your team. So, and I love that you started with, hey, we were in Thailand and it was
Yes.
crazy. So can you tell us a little bit about how your move and your experience and your dissatisfaction with it and the need for something to service those types of clients in the market led to the creation of
Yeah.
Collective.
Yeah, so we lived overseas and we were in Thailand. We ended up moving back. We had a house here in Virginia, which is where we live, but we had already gotten tenants in that home because the plan was that I would move with the kids to Ohio, which is where I'm from. And then it just wasn't, it ended up like not being the best idea for us at the time. And so we decided at that point, okay, let's just buy a second home that we'll live in Virginia. And so we went with our real estate agent at the time, and he's wonderful. I still have a great relationship with him. He's awesome. I just went through the process and was like, hey, when you're relocating to a new country or city or state, like there are a little nuances. And my husband he works for the State Department. And so, I call us their foreign service families. So different foreign service families, like a lot of people will buy from overseas or when they live somewhere else. And to be able to have someone manage the entire transaction who's been there and knows what it's like, that was really what came from our own home search. So I was like, wow, we're really unique. Like we only had 60 days in a hotel. So you think we landed in the hotel, we thought we were moving to Ohio at this point. Then we realized we're not. And the window to buy and move was so short and stressful that I was committed that I could do it better. I was just like, I could do it specifically for relocating families because I know what it's like. And now I know the timeline of really, again, this is deep into real estate, but like you can close on a house and you have 60 days before you have to move in. So when I work with families that are relocating, I'm like, hey, you can start looking while you're overseas. You actually could close and be overseas, and I can help you through that process because I've done it so many times. And then it eliminates the stress of waiting until you're back, waiting until you're in a hotel. Or sometimes I have clients that come and they're like, we have 10 days. I'm here for 10 days and we're going to find a house and I have to be under contract and I'm not leaving until we do. And I'm like, okay, great, let's go. And when you have that type of high pressure situation, you have to really educate your clients on what kind of offers are winning in that climate and how you can be competitive. Because if you have an agent who doesn't understand the market and isn't in it all the time, I've had people work with other agents for 2 years and I'm like, what? I would never, no, that's like not, no.
Wow.
That's not okay. Like you're obviously not understanding the market or building the relationships with the other agents to know how to be successful. And so I really just took our experience of that high pressure, like tiny timeline and was like, no, wait a minute. This needs to be longer. This needs to be less stress. This needs to be like more hands-on. How can I help them from overseas? What needs to happen within a transaction? And then, even on, let's say they close, they're not here and I can help them move things in, or they can ship things here and I can help them, or they want to do renovations, I can help them. So we kind of became this all-encompassing team because we realized the stress when you're relocating.
So, and for anyone who's moved, I'm sure you've worked with realtors. So what is it, and some are good, some aren't so good. What is it that differentiates your team from a traditional real estate agent?
So I would say just in the agent perspective, I really do focus on home purchases as investments. I usually tell clients, you're not going to find your dream home. Like right up front, it probably doesn't exist in your budget. So let's just be clear about that.
Oh, that's good. Just like rip the Band-Aid off. Wow.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for people to see, but really real estate in my mind is an investment. It's one of the ways that you can make money for your family, whether in addition to like the S&P or like whatever you want to have your money into.
Houses will always go up.
Yes, and we live in Northern Virginia, which is right outside DC. So it is one of the most transient areas in the United States. And so for me, I try to switch the perspective of like, okay, let's find the best investment for you. So maybe you're going to come here, you're going to live in it 2 years, you're going to move again. Is that property, what is the rentability of that property? I look at what is the rent, how often are homes turning over? Like I look at the full picture for people and I have that conversation. And I know that this sounds so silly, but like I'm a normal human being. Like I go through the houses as if I am them, as if it's
Yes.
me purchasing it, because many of my clients aren't even here. And again, I'm not in this for the sale or the transaction. I'm in this for the lifetime relationship. And so just in the transaction, those are what make us different. And now on top of it, we offer lifetime home support. So the moment you move in, if you need a contractor, if you know, whatever you might need for that home, we have it. We have party supplies now. We have tools to help you with your
Amazing.
renovations, and they're all for free. And we just bought a moving truck. So all of our clients get to use it for free. If you ever need to move down the road, or if you want to get like your favorite
Amazing.
couch from our house and you don't want to pay delivery, you can go get it with our truck for free and it will support you forever.
Okay, so I have pulled out from what you're saying, like all these like amazing concepts that you use. I'm sure Cassie and Tom went to Tony Robbins, so they know. But sometimes, like as entrepreneurs, we do things and then we have data to look back on, like, oh, this worked because I focused on the client. So that was one of the things I heard. You focused on the client. You put yourself in your client's shoes instead of thinking, I'm just going to sell clients' homes. You flipped it. I think that that's a key principle in business, is putting yourself in the client's shoes. I also think another principle that you abided by was to give value.
Yes.
You by giving tremendous value to your clients and the people that you're working for, and just thinking, how can I keep increasing value? That is how, you know, you differentiate yourself. Can you talk a little bit more about like how you've focused on delivering value to your clients and why that's
Absolutely.
important?
Yeah, well, and now I'm not sure if you followed any of the like real estate stuff that's happened, but there's been a huge lawsuit in real estate where buyers may have to actually pay their buyer agent commission through a transaction. So historically,
Okay.
usually it's the sellers that pay the both agents. Usually the seller listing agent negotiates both those commissions, and then it is given to the title company to disperse. In Virginia, that's how it works. Now, due to the lawsuit, buyers could be responsible to pay their buyer agent. And so we are a buyer heavy team at the moment. We're working to go to kind of split that 50-50, but at the moment we're buyers. And so we really just sat back and we're like, okay, how can we help our clients? What do our clients need? Most especially, again, our clients are normally relocating. They're not here. A lot of our clients aren't here for 30 years. So when
Yeah.
you're thinking, okay, I'm moving to a new state, what do I need? And I know it sounds so crazy, but we're buying a bounce house, we're buying party tables, chairs, like all of these things that our clients, you move to Virginia and you're here for 3 years and you want to throw your kid an epic birthday party, you probably don't want to buy a bounce house. Like that's just
That's
silly. That's a
genius.
silly
Yes.
investment. And so we were like, why don't we invest in this stuff so our clients can all use it? Think of us, know that we're going to help them throughout this, and then it saves them money. So again, yeah, they may be responsible for our commission at the end of a sale. And so we're like, but we want to make sure that they feel that they get that value forever with us. And so it's just something that we were like, how can we add to what our clients need? Because buying a home is one of people's biggest investments anyway. And so we were like, how can we save them money in the long term? How can we add value to their every human experience that they have? And so that was kind of where this idea came from.
I love it. I love it. It's something that I think gets missed when we're thinking about how to grow, how to scale. Most people think, oh, we'll just make more sales and just do the same thing that you're doing louder and in front
Yeah.
of more people.
Yeah.
But really, what it comes down to differentiate yourself is to think smartly, how am I different? How can I be different? And how do you convey tremendous value? So I know that these are some of the things that we've learned, and through doing and through actual going to events, because we met at Tony Robbins.
Yes.
Would love to know and catch up, how has going to Business Mastery helped you and Tom, your partner, integrate principles to continue to grow your business and your life, and how to continue to better your life?
I think honestly, the biggest thing that came for us from Tony Robbins was just the idea to think bigger too. And proximity is power. So those were
Yeah.
really the big things
We
that
met.
we met. Like, well, and I know it sounds maybe crazy, but we talked there at Tony Robbins how sometimes when you are a really big dreamer and you do have really big goals, it's hard to find people who also feel that way. And so
Oh yeah,
sometimes,
and we talk about that all the time.
yeah,
It's hard sometimes to find people who are your peers or in your physical proximity in your locale and your communities that share, because not everyone has the same goals, which is totally fine. But
right.
how do you find those people to continue to motivate and push you?
Exactly, exactly. And I don't know, sometimes I know I can feel a little bit crazy because I do get these really big ideas. And it's almost though my crazy naivety is like what has helped me be successful though, because I'll be like, well, why can't I do it? Of course I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. And people are like, that's not like people don't do that. Do you not understand that people don't do that? Like, I hear it all the time. Many people are like, most new agents, first of all, I think 80% of agents quit in the first year. And then many don't make it in the first 5 years. And I'm just like, we went from, I don't even know what our percentage is right now, which I should tell you, but it's in my OBMs. She's got a spreadsheet for it, which is awesome. But we've grown so significantly year over year in the first 3 years in what people say are the hardest years, but because I just refuse to think small. And so that was like one of the best things I think for Tony Robbins is he's like, just keep thinking bigger, like keep going bigger, surround yourself with people who think bigger, who have done bigger, right? And to keep pushing you because it will keep you going as opposed to like a scarcity mindset, like, oh, it's not
Totally.
enough or I can't do enough or whatever, and most especially as a mom, right? It's easy to get in the like, how am I going to do this mindset? And so you have to find those other people that are like, no, you can do this. It's fine. Just go for it. Like not even thinking twice.
I love that so much. Yeah, it's I think for for me the biggest it really is exactly what you said. I haven't thought about what I think the biggest takeaway is in my life. I don't even know. I have to like think about it.
Yeah.
I would say that the biggest, I can concretely tell you that the biggest difference that it made for me was taking leaps,
Yeah.
saying yes to things that my intuition was saying to go forward on, not overthinking them. We took a huge leap. We hired a litigation attorney who has now done the most insane. He's litigating currently some of the most precedential cases in trademark law, different territories. Which, like, if I was not at Tony Robbins, I don't know if I would have picked up the phone
Yep.
to say yes, we're going to take this leap. So I think like taking leaps of faith are key. And it probably is in tandem with what you're saying and thinking bigger, because you could think big and you could have these big goals, but if you don't actually execute, and you may not succeed on all of them, I could totally have failed, but like, is the risk of failing worth the potential reward of succeeding? And most of the times it's yes, and you could just try again.
Well, and that was actually, that was one of the things I loved. He had great speakers on the stage, which was amazing.
Yeah,
But the common thread was like, honestly, many of them lost it all. Like, they're like, yeah, you have
totally.
to
I
risk
know.
to go big. You might lose it all. But then once you do, you're like, yeah, now I'm going to go even bigger and get even more. And it's like, there is fear, but
Yeah,
courage is still acting in the face of fear, right? Like whatever
totally.
that corny quote is that is amazing and so true. It's like if you don't no risk it, no biscuit, you have to go for it. You have to freaking go for it because if you want to live an extraordinary life, you have to take extraordinary measures.
Oh, preach. So hopefully people are listening and taking notes. And if not, this is going to be recorded. So when you and I met, but first I met Tom. I sat next to Tom and he was like, oh, you need to meet my wife. Oh, you need to meet, like, your vibes, and you guys are just like powerhouse. You guys need to meet. And we like instantly connected. So what I really like, I like to have you on to open up the hood and show people like what's really going on behind success and how to actually be successful. It's not just seeing pictures on cool vacations. There's so much to it. What is your advice before we wrap up? What is your advice to other entrepreneurs, or maybe people who are thinking about jumping into entrepreneurship? What is your advice to people who have a dream, but they as of yet they've been too afraid to execute on that?
Can I give two pieces of advice?
Yes.
One is like an accountability buddy, like find someone else who's like willing to help you, because that made a huge difference. I've had an incredible mentor since the moment I started in real estate. And to this day, we still text every day. And it's like, what do you think about this? Like, don't gatekeep. Be like, oh, what about this? Or what about this? Like, find someone who can help hold you accountable and inspire you and motivate you and keep you going. And then my second piece of advice is honestly, break it down. Like, I am a huge proponent of the book 12-Week Year. And if you have this massive goal, which I think everyone has to strive kind of for this big vision for their life, like you have to have a big vision. You have to have a big why that keeps pushing you. But if you don't take action, it means nothing. So like I could say, I want to create a legacy for my kids, unlike anything else, but what does that even mean? Like you have to break it down. And so I am a huge proponent of taking a big goal, then saying like, what do I need to do in a year to progress towards that goal? And then if that's what I need to do in a year, what do I need to do in the next 6 months? And then even more, okay, what does that mean for the next quarter? And then, yes, I'm getting into the weeds. It's like, what do you do in the quarter as your quarterly habits, your monthly habits, your weekly habits, and your daily habits? Like literally get down to the granular, easiest things ever. Like I know I can do this every single day. I can do this every week, every month, every quarter, and then review how it went and do it again for the next quarter. Because again, without those actions very clear and measurable, you can't really get anywhere.
It's so true. And once I learned how to set an intention, my life changed. You know, I think we're not taught in school to create our lives or create your destiny or design your life, right? Sometimes we can try, but there's this point where sometimes we drift or sometimes we settle. But the idea to set huge goals and intention for your life and reverse engineer working backwards. Well, what does that look like? What small habits and daily routines am I doing to consistently get me there? It literally is the difference between successful people and not. And Casi, you'll find this interesting. I read the other day a quote that defines success as basically success. All it really comes down to is having a goal and working towards that every day.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating? Like,
I love it.
That blew my mind, because if it's as simple as number one, you have to have a goal and it has to be clear. And then your decisions, your routines, your thoughts, the people around you, you structure your life in a way that gets you towards those goals. That is success. Not how much money you have, how much friends you have, how many vacations. It's literally, do you have a goal and are you working towards it every day? And that is success.
Well, and I will say, I know it's almost time to end, but one of the things that I read when I first started out, that the goal, if you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, you will never give up because you can always get better. As opposed to, I think a lot of us do monetary goals or like physical goals, and then you reach it and you're kind of like, well, I don't feel any different. Or like people will buy the bag, right? And you're like, well, and I don't feel any different. And then it's just like, but if you have a goal of like constantly becoming the best version of yourself, there's no end, and you just keep getting better and life gets better and every piece just enhances.
I love that so much. And one of the best things I think I did this year was go to Tony Robbins and meet you and, set big goals. So thank you so much for coming on. Where is the best place that people can find you?
Instagram is definitely the best place, at Casi Carey, and I'm sure you'll put it in there, but Casi. So everyone can never spell my name right.
No, oh my gosh, no, it's cool. I love it. So Cass, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you everyone who tuned in. This is Legal Limelight. We're here. I know I have another show in like an hour. It's too much. All this alliteration. Esther Legal Lounge and where are we on? Yep. Legal Limelight.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It was great
Yes.
to see you.
Thank you. And thanks everyone. This is Legal Limelight. We're here every Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we'll see you next week.